So now that you've seen the film Guns, Germs, and Steel, Professor Coots and I would like to have a brief discussion about the key points of the film and also bring out some of the things in the film that are and remain controversial, because we want you guys to think critically about what you're being exposed to in this course, and we want to open it up for you to form your own opinions and your own thoughts. So let's just begin by highlighting some of the major themes of the film.
Well, what I really liked about the film is that you have a biochemist, biologist, which is the training that Jared Diamond brings to the film, and he's taking that background and then through those eyes trying to explain the way mankind developed. I mean, typically we would have thought this would have been the purview and the area of the historians, the anthropologists, the archaeologists. Many of them, I think, maybe weren't that terribly excited when he first came out with his book. It was fairly unorthodox. It was seen that this is our area, why are you getting into this? What I like about it is that I think this is exactly the way that we're going to solve world hunger and poverty issues, is that we need to have a multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary approach to look at these issues with fresh eyes from all different angles and expertise.
And I think you see a growing trend in academics too, of people linking together to do innovative research, of things like this Hunger Studies minor, where you have students from any background who can take these classes and series of courses to achieve this minor, but come at it from every discipline.
Exactly, yeah.
In the course of the film, one of the things I thought was really interesting is how he described the interactions of different cultures' exposure to guns, germs, and steel, and how that really drastically affected their long-term and historical and social development. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, indeed, and how important soil was, and how some communities had access to developing what became iron and then steel, and then learned how to use them, or even taming horses. I mean, it's not that we didn't know these things, but I had never thought in terms of putting it all together again and looking at the particular advantages, perhaps, that certain communities had over others through no particular sense of justice themselves, or they had no particular other innate ability, but there was an accident of nature, if you will, and it made a huge difference as to how these communities developed and then were able to then dominate others.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting points to me that was a theme throughout the entire film was that it's not like different people started out on different playing fields. Jared Diamond, I think, is very clear to say, it's not that this group of people is a lot smarter or more advanced than this other group of people. It's just that their environments expose them to different things and they develop different coping mechanisms.
Right.
And through those different coping mechanisms, like if they domesticated cows, for example, if that was suitable to their environment, then they had, X, Y, and Z advantage over a different society that chose not to domesticate cows, or cows didn't live where they, originated from. And so there's a lot of really interesting plays, because I think people of privilege tend to think, well, the poor and the hungry are not smart, or they're, they grew up and they're always going to be disadvantaged. But I think he from the beginning, very clearly levels the playing field and says, this isn't a human brain development issue. This is, just like you said, like advantages and kind of acts of nature that cause some of these developmental things to happen.
Indeed. I know when I started watching the film first, I thought, oh, right, here we're going to go and we're going to hear about the white colonialists coming out of Europe, and they're going to have this dominant effect on the native people in North America, and we saw what happened with the Incas and such, to do with not just steel, but also germs. And then the tables are turned when the Europeans start moving north in Africa. That's fascinating. It never occurred to me, well, of course, that's why the Europeans, as they moved north, weren't able to essentially colonize Africa as they did North America and South America. I mean, they otherwise could have done the exact same thing. It never occurred to me that was a key aspect, where the germs worked in their favor in one place, but very much to their advantage in another area. It's fascinating. Food for thought, all of it.
Yes, I agree.
And on that note, we're going to ask you all, folks, to write about this. And again, the way that we've structured this assignment, there's not a right or wrong answer. It's not black and white. We would like your analysis, again, as Professor Brock has pointed out, we hope that we have stimulated a bit of thought outside the box, if you will, beyond what you may have thought in the past. And we're going to ask you a few questions. First off, what is the purpose of the documentary? What was he trying to accomplish? Was he trying to justify inequality, or was he trying to explain it? And then explain your answers, what your opinions are, again, right or wrong, yes or no. Give some details and some examples. And then secondly, we want you to answer the question, what were the characteristics of the societies that became dominant? And for those dominant societies, why did they become dominant? And then finally, we want you to think in terms of society's development throughout history. Does he argue that perhaps this is due to innate abilities that certain groups of human beings have, that it's somehow a genetic superiority issue? This is something often that comes up in discussion. What is your view? And also, what do you think his view is on this? How does he explain this? Why or why not? So we're looking forward to reading what you have to say. We think it's quite an interesting way of looking at these issues, and we're looking forward to seeing your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.